Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tabor Talk. So, there are dozens of video clips out here defending Joe Rogan. There are actually a few going after him, but mostly coming from his friends, and I'm not going to play them all. A couple of days ago, I put up the Jocko Willink video clip. I thought it was very moving. Sam Harris did a 20-minute clip on the Joe Rogan thing. There are more important things in life, right? Than Joe Rogan. There are a lot of serious stuff going on in the world. But I want to play a little bit of this and then I'll comment. This is from Krystal and Saagar. Here we go.
Let's go ahead and get to your monologue, Krystal, because I know you've got a great point about anti-politics here.
Well, guys,
let me just shut down the glare here, just a little bit. Okay, here we go.
About a billion things going on in the world. More important
It's
than the
basically
current
saying-
efforts to shame, smear, and censor one single podcaster. You've got hunger, poverty, war, despair, climate collapse. Just take your pick. We're in the midst of a new Cold War-style conflict between two nuclear powers centered around Ukraine.
Yep.
The Fed is making economic life-or-death decisions right now as we speak. Inequality has soared during the pandemic to world historic levels, leading to a dystopian split screen like Jeff Bezos commanding the deconstruction of a historic bridge in order to accommodate his massive yacht. While on the other hand, you've got his former workers like Daquan Smith forced into homelessness for the crime of advocating for a union. In a certain sense, any of these topics would be a better use of our time than Joe Rogan versus the libs. Yet ironically, the very fact that the nation has become so...
That pisses me off, like Joe Rogan against the libs. I'm a lib. I'm a Democrat, progressive liberal, really center left. But I hate the fact that, and Joe Rogan's a Democrat, so it doesn't even make sense. Joe Rogan has never voted Republican in his life. The last election, he actually voted national. He voted libertarian because he hated Trump and Biden. So he didn't like the candidates. And he says over and over, you're like, dude, like my parents are hippies. I grew up in San Francisco. Like I'm a fucking hippie, even though he does say some. All right, let me just continue on. But I hate the fact that they framed it, the libs going after Joe Rogan. That's all. Here we go.
With whatever bad words Rogan has said over his multi-decade career, instead of a serious inquiry into any of the problems I just mentioned.
By the way, Joe Rogan's very good friends with these people, so they're not going to say anything negative. All right, here we go.
In and of itself, actually a gigantic issue. I don't want to be dramatic here, but the personal moral purity way of doing politics is truly a cancer, and it's eating away at our pseudo-democracy. In other words, part of why we can never address any of those real problems is because the public is continually distracted and titillated by these fake, personalized problems. But it's actually so much worse than that, because they are not just a distraction. Their centrality in our public discourse makes any sort of collective action virtually impossible. It reminds me of this infamous 1944 CIA manual on how to destroy the productivity of an organization. It's called the Simple Sabotage Field Manual, and it contains the following advice. Take a look at this. Bring up irrelevant issues as frequently as possible. Haggle over precise wordings of communications minutes and resolutions. Refer back to matters decided upon at the last meeting and attempt to reopen the question of the advisability of that decision. Now, these precepts seem to have been applied to our entire society. In fact, debating the personal character of Joe Rogan and similar obsessions, they are a potent form of anti-politics. It feels like you're engaging in politics, like you're adding your voice to a cacophonous and vibrant democracy, but you're not. You're stuck wandering endlessly around a fake Potemkin village of democracy, while elites with an interest in maintaining the status quo are left free to make the real political decisions. You are relitigating the context within which Joe Rogan said the N-word in 2013, while the Fed decides whether or not to fork over a few more trillions to Wall Street, and private equity giants decide whether young people
Let me just
will
pause.
ever be...
That has always been an issue, though. I was talking to my wife yesterday. Like, back in the 70s, Howard Cosell got fired on Monday Night Football for saying, look at that little monkey run. Something like that. It was just a dumb, stupid thing. He got fired. Jimmy the Greek. So they're talking like this is a new thing. People going after, public figures or whatever for saying the N-word. By the way, I've done a video on this. I'm not going to repeat myself. That whole thing is bullshit, right? Joe Rogan absolutely is not a racist. He never said, they listen to Sam Harris, what he has to say about this. He never, I'm not going to repeat myself. Joe Rogan is not a racist. That is bullshit. But let me just continue.
Buy a home or start a family, and the oil and gas industry buys out politicians to continue forcing the planet off a climate cliff. Now, Neil Young, he was the first artist to pull his music from Spotify, and actually his arc over the course of his life is really illuminating. His original forays into activism, they were about bolstering a mass struggle against war, protesting the killings of young students at Kent State who were gunned down for their activism against the state. Under George W. Bush, he was part of a free speech tour decrying the reactionary censorship of anti-war voices. But in our modern climate of democracy sabotage, he's flipped. Now, his ire is directed at Spotify for allowing too much free speech.
This is wrong.
He's the same guy, same activist impulses, yet now his activism is dedicated to bolstering power rather than fighting it. And his remedy is too perfect as well. He's pushing his fans and their dollars to one of the most powerful and nefarious companies on the planet, Amazon. Rogan's thought crimes are given higher moral priority than Amazon's massive.
That's so
exploitation
annoying what you're saying. I'm going to put the whole thing. There's like 8 minutes left. I won't play the whole thing. I'll put it in the comment section, the link. But listen. I support Joe Rogan, but you're missing the whole fucking point about Neil Young. Like, listen, do you understand we're in the middle of a pandemic? Now, Neil Young believes unprecedented times. Agree? 800,000 people, almost 1 million people have died from COVID-19, right? Unprecedented times. Neil Young believes that Joe is spreading misinformation, disinformation, whatever, and people are dying. That's the only reason. So he's the same guy. And people are acting like this is a new thing. What about in the 40s with polio and the measles? He forced people to get vaccinated. Now, whether or not he's spreading misinformation, that's another issue. He sort of is. I'm not going to go into it now. So there you go. I'll put the rest of this in the comment section. I'm not going to be continuing playing all these clips. You could just go directly rather than listen to this. It's kind of a waste of time. So anyway, I'll cut it off here. Saagar and Krystal, what is it? Krystal and Saagar. By the way, they're Joe Rogan's friends. Joe Rogan made these people. So there's another thing. You know they're not going to say anything bad. There you go. Good friends, good books, and a sleepy conscience. And I support Joe Rogan here.